crazy founder story, yours or otherwise, or crazy capital allocator story?
One of the things that you've sort of talked about is, it's okay if founders are getting sort of 1 to 5 million, because nobody wants like a founder who's so preoccupied with their bills and they're maintaining their lives that they can't work for you, or not work for you, but work with you. Like, that's not what you want. But
you want them to go long.
For sure. And so, what I'm also starting to see is and you kind of touched on this, is that in these later stages, there are founders who are getting to take 20, 50 off the table.
Whoa.
And at that point, it makes me feel very uncomfortable, because I'm like, if you've made $20 to $50 million, that is quite a
life-changing.
It's a life-changing amount of money for somebody who most likely 3 years ago had nothing. And so that's all.
You're talking about, to be clear here, we're not talking about a 10 to 20-year-old company.
No. We're talking about a sub 5-year-old company.
Which is disproportionate. They're taking more money off the table than the company has revenue in that
case. Correct. Most likely, yes, in that instance, yes. And these are being built into. It's not even that anybody else has a say. It's being built into the contracts as such that, if
take it or leave it.
This term sheet comes with the sort of comes with the clause that you actually have to sell. You actually have to sell us your shares, because we're not getting enough allocation via the round. We'll just buy shares off the CEO. We'll pay whatever the market price is, cash them out. And in some instances, I've seen people get close to $50 million via these sort of mechanisms. And to me, that feels very, very frothy, uncomfortable, because you're kind of rewarding somebody for a job not yet done. You're kind of saying, hey, Michael Jordan, you took us to the second round of the playoffs, but
here's your ring.
Yeah, here's your ring. And so
it's like, not exactly.
There's still a few more games left to play.
Fourth place, 8th best seed, fourth best team. Like, you're not quite there. Yeah. And I think that's an eloquent way to describe it, which is we're starting to give people, I don't mind people getting a little extra credit, but if we're giving people, their championship and their Oscar before they've even, edited the film,
exactly.
You're like, wow, great screenplay. Those, the trailer looks awesome,
incredible
but
script. Like,
what a script. Yes. Yeah. And here's your Oscar. It's like, kind of want to see the film
how
first.
It plays out. Yeah. And so I think that's really, I think that this kind of idea where we're rewarding people for almost finished work is something that's going to come back and bite us in the ass, because in essence, we're valuing 80% of the job. Like, we're saying, you deserve to be rewarded for almost getting to where you told us that you would go. And because you're so close, and we can see the kind of A to B of you getting to that actual end place, we'll just call it here and say that you did your job,
I think crypto's got this going on in a crazy way. Listen, I don't want to give anybody a hard time about their investments, but all my friends are in Solana. And I was like, wow, congratulations. This is like the greatest return in the history of venture capital or something. And I had, Sam from Slow on, and I was like, wow, that's great. You returned $2 billion from a $500K investment. Obviously, it's not liquid. Obviously, there's not enough buyers to buy out $49 billion worth of Solana.
Right.
But I'm like, they have 8 developers. And because I had the Solana founder on, and I was like, you have 8 developers, you have $7 billion. It's like, it's $6 billion per developer. We were talking how crazy it was when Facebook was doing acqui-hires at $6 million.
Right.
No, we're at $6 billion. And that to me is super dangerous, because how does the company grow from here?
Sure.
How does an investor put money in and expect any kind of return? I don't know if you saw Fred Wilson's blog post, but he wrote this blog post of like, if you're pre-product, forget about pre-product market fit, pre-product. You haven't built the product and it's at 100 million. How does a fund ever return 20% IRR? It's just not. And he made a model and he said, maybe I don't understand it. Maybe there's going to be 100 or $200 trillion companies, but this doesn't add up.
Yeah, basically you're expecting that, when, 10 years ago, when all of us were so happy that, we had a unicorn in our portfolio, now it's like, unless you have a decacorn, because you invested so late, it doesn't, like, if you're investing at 100 million seed, you need a decacorn for it even to make sense.
Yeah. It's just so great. What's the worst behaviors or just sticks with you story about this moment in time on the VC side or on the founder side?
Yeah, I think one thing that is kind of leaving a bad taste in my mouth is like, we always, as an industry, have spent a lot of money on like parties and events and offsites and things. But it seems to have reached like an inflection point now where it's like people are just not even being at all specific or seemingly having any sort of like corporate strategy as to why they're doing these things. It just seems kind of like for the sake of, having our names in people's mouths, we're going to spend $1 million on an Art Basel activation. And
Crazy.
when you ask like, okay, well, how does that translate into customers? And how does that sort of, what's the feedback loop between your enterprise SaaS product and this Soho beach house party that you just threw? It's really, really hard to get from A to B. And I think that like, again, we're in one of those flywheels where it's like, oh, well, X company that just raised 10 billion just did this massive activation, and Y company that just did this. And so it's like, again,
crazy.
Yeah.
The potential for positive change with AI is huge, but seeing that value is hard. AI-driven growth is about organizational transformation, not just technology. And many businesses struggle with bringing AI initiatives to fruition. That's where Dataiku comes in. Dataiku is the platform for everyday AI, systemizing the use of data for exceptional business results. At its core, Dataiku allows companies to leverage one central solution to design, deploy, and manage AI and analytics applications. And it's accessible for everyone, whether technical or if you're on the business side. Dataiku also facilitates using pre-built components and automation wherever possible to streamline work processes as well as consistent management and governance across teams and projects to create transparent, repeatable, and scalable AI and analytics programs. Visit Dataiku to learn more. That's DATAIKU.com to learn more.